Hi, Marcy Bent from Think Premium JA, just sharing a quick IT bit here in association with IslandNet. And today we're actually going to be discussing why companies need private data. So many of you are probably wondering, what do I mean by private data services? And that pretty much is the definition in and of itself. Private data is any sensitive information that you really don't want to be shared in the general public, like your credit cards, driver's license information, financial account information, passwords, etc. So private data. And in the case of a company, that's sensitive information within the company that you really don't want the general public seeing, like your HR information, your financial information, certain private product information that haven't hit the market yet, things like that. You really don't want the general population knowing about that. So in order to safeguard this information, companies need to put things in place. Now, granted, the type of companies that usually invest in private data tend to be larger companies. And why this is the case is because it does cost money. And if you have more to lose, you need to invest in having private data, among other things, of course, right? Now, there are several reasons why your company could benefit from exploring private data services. And in order for that to work, you would need to have at least one location communicating with another location in order for it to typically work, because you need to have a channel. It needs to be a tunnel sharing information from one point to another. In order for a tunnel to exist, you have to have a beginning and an end. In other words, you have to have 2 points, which is why you need at least two locations in order for a private data solution to make sense. And honestly, in order for that to make sense, they need to be sharing a lot of information, sensitive information, on a consistent basis across the locations. So if you're just like, I don't know, like a gas station, unless it's a really big gas station doing certain sensitive services, you may or may not see the value more than a remittance company that is like this day doing different trading, or a bank where you need to have access to the same information across the locations, real-time updates being done, and also you want to ensure that the information is secure, most importantly. So having your private data solution in place could be a really good value add for your company. Now, your company would see value in private data, for one, because of the security that it offers. Private data services provide a higher level of security in comparison to, like, public services, or just like sharing information across the internet, for example. Now, because you're sharing information across the internet, it can get intercepted by many points, unless you're sharing it like over a private data network, which is a form of a private data service that we offer at IslandNet. It can get intercepted, and you run the risk of your private information being used by hackers, either for ransom purposes or just them getting unauthorized access to it, and then doing all sorts of stuff to it that they should be doing. So having private data in place, like MPLS, for example, is crucial for protecting sensitive business information and customer data from unauthorized cyber threats. Compliance reasons could also be another reason for your company investing in private data services. And the reason behind it is many industries have strict regulatory requirements, like banks, for instance, insurance companies, even remittance companies, regarding data privacy and security. Private data services can help companies comply with these regulations by offering enhanced control over data access and storage. So, for example, Western Union, you don't necessarily want everybody know who collecting like $1 million remittance every time they go in, or like a $500,000 remittance every time they go in. That is sensitive information. You do have to be careful. So that's something, depending on the institution and industry, they do have to pay attention to. Likewise, a bank as well. You don't want everybody know how much certain business owners are making or have stored in the bank. That's, or even having access to the passwords so they can hack into their online banking. That's very dangerous. So that's something as well. And also performance could be another benefit too, because if you can easily share information across the locations and the real-time updates and information is reliable, you can actually have greater reliability when doing public services, especially like for applications that require limited lag time, as in the information has to be updated real time. No lag time, no delays, no glitches, and you need a high amount of bandwidth. So for example, a company like a JPS, Jamaica Public Service Company, they handle utilities here in Jamaica. If you're paying a bill at another location, you'd want to know that information's been updated almost real time, if not real time, so these your customers can get reconnected very quickly. That is one example. Or even like an ATM. ATMs actually don't use the internet in order to work. They use MPLS. And the information, when you go to an ATM and you withdraw money, you add money, you want it to be updated and reflected real time. So that's an example. Even if, let's say, you do a deposit and it takes like 3 business days, but you at least want to know that the bank received the money. That's the most important part. The transaction went through. So that's one example. Another reasons a company would invest in private data services is the customization that it offers. So, private data services can actually be customized, to meet the specific needs of a company, like, for example, making it more scalable. So let's say you can have a branch here in Kingston, you have a branch in Ochi, you have a branch in Portland, you have a branch in Linstead, you have a branch in Savannah Lamar, in Westmoreland. So because you have one central point that can easily share information to the other regions, you just need to set up, like, for example, your MPLS or your virtual private network, and you're able to share information across the different locations. So that's something you can benefit from. Storage options as well, that's actually quite useful, because you can have data centers added to the private network, and it makes it easy to update information either daily, weekly, or monthly. So in the event that something happens to the network, at least it's stored in a data center offsite or on somewhere managed by the server. So that's one example. But just a reminder though, it's always good for a business to implement business continuity services, and one of the things you need to look for business continuity is off-site storage. So you can store information on site, like your files, etc., being stored on like portable hard drives or large hard drives in a rack inside a telecoms room. But I would also strongly recommend that you invest in off-site storage. Just have another company store it. If it's even like Amazon or something, store it, just so your information is secured. Another thing too is that having private data, it allows for certain network configurations to be done easily. So certain network settings can be done in terms of information sharing more seamlessly than if you were just using the internet, because you have control with the internet, depending on the private data configuration that you work with. Like let's say, for example, you try and do a software defined wide area network. Yeah, I mean, you can actually have some you do have control where the internet's concerned. But if it's a case where you don't want the information to touch the internet at all, like not at all, like a bank, for example, you might want to invest in an MPLS. Having the private data where you don't have it on the internet at all can definitely be done, and it should, depending on how you set it up, be easy to customize and do certain things with it. So you can get your reporting done easily. You can aggregate certain administrative services, all that good stuff. Shoot, you can even put in like your own communication channel, like internally, so it doesn't hit the internet. That's something. And lastly, another reason why a company would invest in private data services would actually be like control, because with private data services, it allows companies to have greater control over their data. Because again, you can choose whether or not you want to share information over the internet or not, right? So you have control over like where the information is stored, how it's accessed, like whether persons have to log into an office computer to access it, or once they're connected to the network they can access it anywhere, and who can access it, of course. So it's easier to put in certain restrictions, and it really helps companies to be able to like protect like their intellectual property and have that competitive advantage. So for example, let's say a big manufacturing company in Jamaica, you don't want everybody knowing that you're coming out with a new line of flavored water. You want your flavor to be unique, so by the time you hit the market, you're like the only one there with that flavored water. If you're sharing that over the internet, eventually you run the risk of some hacker trying to get that information from your company and either beating it to it or selling it to somebody else, or just accessing the information. You don't want to buy accessing the information. So that's a benefit that you get from private data. And guess what? If you ever need help in setting this up for your company, IslandNet can totally assist you with this. You can DM me to learn more, because IslandNet actually does the private data support for a lot of banks and businesses island-wide. We've been in the island for over 20 years. We were started from the ground up as a data company, so we can manipulate data in many, many ways. And, we've been in the business for over 20 years, served 1,500 businesses and counting. So we've been doing this for a while. We've definitely been doing this for a while. So I'm sure we can totally assist you. And the fact that we have live customer support that you can reach out to in the event that there are any issues, and we have, multiple data centers in the island that you can store information, we're definitely somebody that you can reach out to if you need any help in this regard. I hope this added value to you. If it did, comment down below and tell me. Comment down below with this statement: I keep my data private. I keep my data private. Comment with that. So like, share, comment, subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Again, Marcia Ben from Think Premium JA in association with IslandNet. Take care. Have a wonderful day. And remember to never stop dreaming.